Here's your host, Alex Garrett.
All right, can take a little bit of a breather from the workday today to talk to you for a minute. Some eye-opening moments today in Chautauqua, New York. The author, Salman Rushdie, who has really been vilified and has had a fatwa against him by the radical Muslim community, radical Islamic community, I should say. But in Chautauqua, New York, he was attacked earlier today. We will pray for him and hope that 30-year prophecy of that fatwa doesn't come true, that he lives through this. And just awful. He was on a lecture stage and some guy bum rushed him and stabbed him. And imagine what would have happened if Lee Zeldin's attacker did get those sharp knife-like things on his finger in the neck of Lee Zeldin. It would have been game over. But thankfully that did not happen. Anyway, horrible, horrible moment today in Chautauqua, and that is making the news rounds. Also making the news rounds is the polio disease, because polio is back in our sewer system. Okay? In New York City sewer system, polio has been found. This is horrible, and I want to give you an update on what the CDC is saying about the vaccines. 2 doses of inactivated polio vaccine, IPV, are 90% effective or more against paralytic polio. 3 doses are 99% to 100% effective. Now, they also add adults who completed their polio vaccination series as children, because I remember getting it as a kid, are at high risk for polio exposure and can receive 1 lifetime IPV booster. 1 lifetime IPV booster. So that's what the CDC is saying, but it's 99 to 100% effective. With 3 doses, there is a 1 lifetime, and I always thought I got the lifetime, but you're going to see, I'm sure, a rush to get polio vaccines, as there was another case, one recently confirmed in upstate New York. You're going to see this become a panic. So we'll have to see what happens. Now they got all that off my cranial, there is something kind of interesting. Steve Martin, as you might know, has retired from acting. That's what the announcement was yesterday. He's been acting for 60 years, by the way. And he was on the minds of myself and Daryl Spivey when he was hosting the position papers with Bill Stanford on AM 970 The Answer. Well, Daryl got me in on the conversation with Hollywood screenwriter Alec Sokolow. And Alec broke down for me and Daryl, for Daryl and I, really, what it was like watching the screen version of his screenplay, Cheaper by the Dozen. Of course, that was based on a true story, but take a listen to what Alec Sokolow, the original writer, one of the original writers of Cheaper by the Dozen, the hit movie, had to say about Steve Martin as the dad in Cheaper by the Dozen.
Alex, you had a question for Alec about Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh, my goodness. First of all, it's actually, I believe, a true story, if I'm not mistaken. But let me ask you, when you wrote that, did you foresee Steve Martin as the dad? I mean, he was just an incredible character in that movie. Were you happy that he played the role?
Oh, my God, yeah. I mean, he's a genius. And I also think just exudes like comic father in some way. But, yeah, I mean, what's funny about Cheaper by the Dozen is that, so, you know, Joel and I were having our career and we were working, you know, pretty steadily and doing a lot of work. And we had written the 2 Garfield movies, but we had written the first Garfield movie for Fox. And we had an executive at Fox who we had also written our draft of Cheaper by the Dozen for. And, you know, we were in a notes meeting on Garfield, and the executive, Vanessa Morrison, was like, hey, I got to cut the meeting short. I'm starting production on a movie in like 4 weeks, and I got to go into that meeting. We're like, what movie? She's like, Cheaper by the Dozen. We're like, we wrote that. She goes, I know. You didn't know it was being made? We're like, no, that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, it came out. Sean Levy directed it. He's a master comic director, and Steve Martin, he just couldn't have done better. Everything about that movie was fun. That movie truly was one of my favorite experiences to be involved with, because you get to watch it through the eyes of a 7 or 8 year old watching it, and through the eyes of an 87-year-old watching it, and everybody got something.
And there you go. Thanks to Daryl for allowing me that chance to ask Alec Sokolow a question. And, I'll put his socials in the descript. But yes, Steve Martin. And one more thing. Because I played Inspector Clouseau, Officer of the Law, with the bigger, maybe they'll bring that about. I don't know. But I did enjoy rocking the mustache and the famous Clouseau trench coat. But that being said, huge news with this Salman Rushdie, and it's in Chautauqua, not Chappaqua, so that's a correction there. But we pray for him. This is a big deal. He's been in hiding for years after this fatwa has been on his head, and now he was scouted out, and we must pray for him deeply today. And to leave you on a happy note, I'll actually be a little bit on the air, blessed with some airtime this weekend on AM 970 The Answer. I believe that's going to be 2:30 p.m. with Greg Floyd reaching out. At the end of his conversation with Kathy Hochul, he actually says, hey, Alex, let's air a little bit of our conversation on the podcast about NYCHA. So you'll hear that toward the tail end. But, of course, tune in to the 57th governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul, with Greg Floyd reaching out at 2:30 p.m. AM 970 The Answer. And then Rob Taub said, you know what? Sit in with your radio buddy Joan Pelzer for a couple segments. So 5 to 5:30 will be on with Broadway at the Russian Tea Room Sunday, 5 to 5:30. And, of course, the entire show, 5 to 6 p.m. AM 970 The Answer. I'm starting to just say where I'm on because you might want to just tune in and take a listen. Very excited to have Joan Pelzer on. She's also the executive producer of the Arthur Idala Power Hour, 5 to 6 p.m., AM 970 The Answer. And she is part of the AMT Theater, a new theater off Broadway between 8th and 9th and 45th Street. For now, I'm Alex Garrett. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.